Welcome back, agents, to another episode of Prime Tips. This time we're going to be talking about heat sinks and multi-hacks and how you can get the most gear out of those portals and a little bit of a farming guide. So first, let's talk a little bit about some terminology that we'll have to have out of the way to make sense of things. And there's two things that you kind of need to understand: cooldown and burnout. Now, cooldown is the time that it takes a portal to cool down after it's been hacked before it can be hacked again. Now, the default time for a cooldown is 5 minutes. So if you don't do anything to a portal, you hack it, you got to wait 5 minutes, and then you can hack that particular portal again. Burnout is a little different. It's the number of times a portal can be hacked before it burns out and has to be reset. That means if you burn it out, you have to wait 4 hours from the first hack that you did, and then it will come back. So the first thing we're going to talk about are heat sinks. Now, what is a heat sink? A heat sink decreases the cooldown time of the equipped portal, reducing the time before an agent can hack that portal again. And the interesting thing is that this applies to both allied and enemy agents. So if you come across a portal that has heat sinks on it and it's owned by the opposing side, it's going to make you hack that quicker. Now, the heat sinks themselves do not have any effect on the burnout. So how much do they affect things? Well, if you don't have any heat sinks, your hack speed is what they call 0%. That means the cooldown's 5 minutes. You throw one common on there, it's going to increase that hack speed by 20%. That means that the cooldown goes down 20%. You only have to wait 4 minutes. A rare heatsink cuts it in half, 50%, so 2 minutes and 30 seconds before you can hack it again. And a VR, or very rare heatsink, is a 70%. So that means you can hack that portal again in 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, they do stack, and they do have some other effects for the deploying agents. So if you are the deploying agent, and only if you're the deploying agent, when you deploy that heatsink, it resets the cooldown and the burnout timers. So that means that as soon as you put a heatsink on there, you can hack. You don't have to wait for the cooldown. And also, it restarts the burnout recovery timer. So it's probably best, if you're going to use that heatsink for more hacks, you probably want to use it after you burn it out or near the end of all of that. Now, if you have more than one heat sink installed on a portal, only the rarest one will function at full effectiveness. The remaining ones have that diminishing returns, so they're only going to have half the effectiveness. So let's look at a worksheet that shows you a little bit about that. So here you have nothing's been on that particular one, and so the cooldown is 5 minutes. Now, if I put on a very rare heatsink, you'll notice that the cooldown goes to 130. Now, if I put on another very rare, you would expect it to half that half, but it only is one half, so it goes to 59 seconds. It's close. You notice the formula, which is kind of strange. Basically, you just half things, and it's going to be close. So if, for instance, I put on a very rare and a common, and that's a 20% savings, and a common, I'm going to get it down to 1 minute and 6 seconds. Not as effective when I stack all those other ones on there. How much can you get it down to? Well, if you fill it up with VRs, you can get that hack time down to 25 seconds, which is a pretty good time. Now, we happen to be in the middle of COVID-19, so they've adjusted things. They've basically kind of put on an invisible, rare, very rare heat sink on every portal. So the estimated cooldown is down to 90 seconds right now. So in that case, if our cooldown is 90 seconds to start with, that means be 7 seconds. So it goes pretty quick. Actually, I think that would, well, let's see, one VR let's see what it would be. XXX. So 1 minute 30 seconds, which is 90. So you can get that really down to something really small right now because of the COVID-19 and what's going on. So again, that rule of thumb is half the effects of the heat sinks 2 to 4, with the rarest one counting full. And it doesn't matter if you put that on first or you put it on last, just as long as it is the rarest one. Now, what's your strategy for using those heat sinks? Well, there's a number of things that you can do. The cooldown reset is really useful if you want to hack the same portal repeatedly in close succession, such whenever you want to farm and get a bunch of keys to it. So you probably just hack it to burnout, hit a heat sink, hack it again to burnout. And you can adjust that with multi-hacks, as we'll talk about in a minute. Rare and very rare heat sinks and multi-hacks attached to a high-level enemy portal by the other side are usually a sign that that portal is being farmed for keys, that they're looking to do something with that portal. It could indicate that the portal is going to be used in an upcoming operation. It could be that it was already used. So on the defensive side, you could kill that portal and disrupt the ability of the other side to gather keys. If you really want to be mean, you do what's called a dick flip. You can kill it. When you bring it back, put some low levels on it or medium level resonators and some useless mods, and then flip it to the opposing side. So maybe you put on 2 E030 pluses and 2 E030 minuses, which effectively cancel each other out, but it fills all the slots. So for them to use that, and since you would flip it back to their color, they would have to flip it and then kill it and then rebuild it. So it's kind of an indication that somebody's using that portal when you see that it's got heat sinks on it and multi-hacks, and it's set up for that kind of thing. Speaking of multi-hacks, well, what is a multi-hack? A multi-hack changes the number of times a portal can be hacked before that portal burns out. So the default number of hacks that you get on a portal is 4. So if you do it 4 times in a row and you haven't put any multi-hacks on it, that portal's going to burn out, and then you're going to have to wait 4 hours before you can hack that portal again. 4 hours from the first time that you hacked it. But when you throw the multi-hack on, it gives you more hacks that you can do. And again, they will stack, but there is a diminishing return. So the rarest one that you throw on, the rarest multi-hack that you throw on, is going to give you its full burnout insulation or number of hacks. And then everything else is going to give half of theirs. So if you look at what they have, so if you have a common one, you get 4 extra hacks. So that means you get a total of 8 hacks on that portal before it burns out. You throw a rare on there, you're going to get 8 more, total of 12. And if you put a VR multi-hack on there, you can get 12 extra hacks. That means you can hack that portal 16 times. So it helps out quite a bit. And there is that diminishing return. So let's look at the multi-hacks. So again, if I put a VR on there, you'll notice that my number of hacks goes to 16. Now, I don't get another 12 if I put another VR on there. I'm going to get half of that 12. I'm going to get 6 more, so I go to 22. And VR and VR. So I can get it up to 34 hacks on that one portal before it burns out. Now, you typically don't do that because you want to put other things like heat sinks on there to speed it up and things like that. But if you put a common and a rare on there, then you can get it to 22. And again, since we're in COVID-19, it's like they put an invisible very rare on there. So that means that your default right now is 16. So if we start at 16 and we load her up, and only because we got the bonuses going right now, you can get 46 hacks on a portal before you burn it out. So you can really work that thing hard uh, if you want to. Some of the strategies with multi-hacks, the burnout out reset for heat sinks works well with both multi-hacks and frackers, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But because the multi-hacks effects are applied to each burnout reset cycle, its effect is multiplied for the agent who attaches the heat sink, not everybody else. So to maximize the yield, that multi-hack probably should be applied first, with heat sinks applied later after the agent has burned out the portal or just a little later. Theoretically, an agent can perform 64 hacks in 2 hours and 10 minutes using a very rare multi-hack and 3 very rare heat sinks. The other thing with both the heat sinks and multi-hacks is you can throw in the idea of a fracker. So if you throw in the fracker, that's going to double everything that you hack. So that only lasts for so long. That fracker is going to last either for 10 minutes or in 150 hacks in total among all agents. So if you had 15 agents, they would each get 10 hacks, or however many hacks that you get there. So how would you use it to your best advantage? Well, probably what you want to do is when you get to the portal that you want, and it's probably a good idea to be a portal that you want to get a lot of keys, because you'll probably get a lot of keys. So you might want to be farming this one. Make sure you have your rarest heat sink ready to go. Then deploy your resonators to get it to the level that you want, probably level 8 if you can, or the highest level you can. Then deploy your fracker, hack the portal once to start the timer, and then put your rarest heatsink on there. Then you hack it again, and everybody starts hacking. And as you go, deploy multi-hacks and heat sinks as you wait for cooldowns, and that will speed up your hacking and or give you more hacks before it burns out. It just depends on how many agents you have and how fast you're hacking. So just keep hacking until the fracker burns out. If you can, you might be able to frack it again and keep it going, but you got to watch out for burnout. So what are the best mods for farming, hacking, and fracking? Well, there is a good little tool called the Portal Farm Calculator, and I give you the web address of which it's there. So this is really handy if you want to figure out what you have and how quickly and how much you can get things out. So you notice right now I don't have any mods on it. It's going to be 300 seconds, 5 minutes, and then I can do it 4 times and I'm done. So let's say that I throw on a couple of very rare heat sinks. Now when I calculate, I got my hack time down to 58 seconds, but I can still only hit it 4 times. So that means in about 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 55 seconds, I would have the same as what I would have had in, 20 minutes. But let's say I throw on 3 very rare heat sinks and a very rare multi-hack. So now this is probably one of the best combinations that you can get. Your cooldown time is 38 seconds, and you can hit it 16 times. And you'll notice that your burnout time is 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Why that's a good timing is, remember that frackers go for 10 minutes. So if you set it up this way, you can pretty much just hack until that particular fracker burns out. You'd have a 30-second leeway there. So your best bang for your buck is to set it up something like that. You could probably get 14 or 15 hacks that are fracked and doubled, so it's like getting 28 or 30 before you burn it out. If you back off a little bit, you two VRs, 1 heatsink and 1 VR, that burnout time is about 11 minutes, and you'll get about 11 or 12 hacks. So it just depends. And probably the best thing that you can do if you really want to get stuff is kind of have a fracking party. Set up 2 or 3 portals in range so that you don't have to move around, and set them all up with heat sinks, multi-hacks, and have 1 or 2, maybe 3 frackers running. If you got 2 frackers or 3 frackers, especially 3 running, then you can hack from portal to portal to portal, portal to portal to portal nonstop. So you can go 10 minutes and just keep hacking. So that's a little bit about heat sinks and multi-hacks. I hope that you enjoyed this show, and I'll see you in the field, agents.